Meandering streams deserve special attention because with meandering streams, we get erosion, transportation, and deposition going on within the stream valley all the time. And we also get erosion of the edge of the stream valley as it continues to widen and widen. So as a reminder, this is as we approach ultimate base level, we're in these wide stream valleys. And inside these wide stream valleys, we have a lot of deposition of material from the stream or river, which is called alluvium. So as the stream flows, oftentimes it's actually eroding away its own alluvium that it previously deposited, and it's also depositing it once again at different parts of the river. The way that we can see where this happens is by thinking of the maximum velocity of the river. We know the maximum velocity of the river is going to be just below the surface and near the center of the river. But because the river tends to flow, the water in the river tends to flow in one direction and is not going to turn until it has to, as we approach a bend in the river, the maximum velocity tends to be on the outside of one of these curves here, which is called a meander loop. So the place that erosion tends to occur is on the outside of the meander loop because of the fast velocity, and then the slowest velocity is on the inside of the meander loop. So we tend to get erosion on the outside of the meander loop and deposition on the inside of the meander loop. This can happen either in the alluvium that's already been deposited previously by the river, or it can happen at the edge of the valley as we're seeing here. The place it gets eroded away, whether it's the alluvium or the valley, is called the cut bank of the river, C-U-T-B-A-N-K. And the place where, because of the slow velocity, material is being deposited is called the point bar, P-O-I-N-T space B-A-R. And we can see we get point bar, cut bank, point bar, cut bank, point bar, cut bank, always the cut bank on the outside of the meander loop, and always the point bar on the inside of the meander loop. And of course, these point bars can build up over time. The river used to be here, but it's continued to cut in this direction here. And over time, these meander loops tend to get bigger and bigger. And sometimes they even kind of erode towards each other. These are both cut banks here, and they're kind of cutting towards each other. So we can actually have them cut themselves off at some points. Here's an example of a cut bank here. So here we have a cut bank, and we can kind of see the river is flowing around in this direction here, and it's actually eroding down underneath the soil in this area here to cut through there. This river doesn't look like it's doing much. This cut bank might not be being cut all of the time, but in times of a high flow or flooding, that's when the real cutting of the cut bank could occur. And here's another cut bank along the Deschutes River in Oregon, and we can see that the cut bank here is quite high and is being cut away by the river going around this bend here. The point bar we would expect to find on the other side. Not a great example here, but we'll see some other examples. Here's an example here. The river's flowing through. We're getting the cut bank on the outside of the meander loop, and we're getting the point bar deposited on the inside of the meander loop. So this would be kind of like the beach that you're able to stand on, and this might be more like cliffs going down to the river. And we can also get a hint here as it goes around the next meander loop. Now the cut bank is still on the outside of the meander loop, but it's on the other side of the river now. It's over here, and the point bar is being deposited over here. Same sort of thing occurring here, where we're almost getting this cut off because the outside of this meander loop is this area here. The outside of this meander loop is this area here. Over time, we would expect that to just completely erode away and get cut off. And we can also see this big meander loop here where the erosion would tend to be on the outside of that, and maybe this is not the best place to build a community because unless this is combated with physical structures, this outer part of the meander loop will continue to erode away over time. So over time, floodplains and broad valleys tend to get broader and broader because as this as these meander loops meander back and forth across their own alluvium, in some cases they actually butt up against the side of the river valley here. This is the side of the river valley. All the flat area in between is called the floodplain, and here's the other side of the river valley over here. So here we actually have a cut bank that's cutting into the side of the river valley, and you can imagine this almost like a rope that's being, whipped back and forth from side to side. Over time, we're just going to have different parts of the sides of this river valley get eroded away. It's going to become wider and wider, and we're going to have a wider and wider deposit of alluvium in the bottom of this wide valley, and that's where the river is going to be flowing.